Mother of Sharks by Melissa Cristina Marquez, illustrated by Devin A. Kurtz. The setting sun shimmered against the calm waves as I took one last dip in the silky turquoise waters of La Playeta del Condado. Meli, vamos, dijiste 5 minutos más, hace 5 minutos. Mommy called from the shore. The only problem was when I had to go home. Just 5 more minutes! Te lo prometo, I exclaimed, fiddling with my necklace my abuela had given me. It was my prized possession. I spotted the tidal pools in the distance. These rocky pools filled with seawater are sometimes small, shallow puddles or huge, deep holes. I had to make these 5 minutes count, so I began to swim towards them. As I scrambled onto the rocks, I crouched down to peek through the glass-like surface of the water. Within the pool was a secret universe of its own. Spiky sea urchins and fuzzy seagrass, swaying anemones and slow sea slugs. But my favorite critter hid inside a speckled shell. I carefully picked the shell up and placed it in the palm of my hand to see if anyone was home. Hola, is anyone there? I asked, looking inside. 2 beady eyes of a hermit crab squinted back at me. You have a beautiful shell. What shall I name you? I asked. I could just tell you my name, the little crab said. I yelped with my eyes widening as the crab scuttled around in my hand. Mis amigos me llaman Jaiba. What? How can... You can talk? I whispered, making sure that no one would hear me. Of course I can, Jaiba said proudly. What kind of crab do you take me for? He didn't wait for my answer. I've seen you around here before. What's your name? My name's Melissa, I said, trying to make my heart calm down, but everyone calls me Meli. Jaiba stopped pacing and slowly blinked his eyes. Encantado de conocerte, Meli, he replied. Nice to have a name for the girl with the ocean in her heart. The what? I asked, wrinkling my brow in confusion. This surely was a dream. Follow me, and I'll show you what I mean. Jaiba hopped off my palm and disappeared into the tide pool. My eyes searched for his shell, but all I saw was a reflection of my wet, curly hair and dark brown eyes rippling through the water. Then the tide pool began to bubble and rumble. Suddenly, I was surrounded by endless bright turquoise Jaiba, and I swam deeper and deeper away from the surface and toward a sprawling underwater city. Crabs and sea stars scuttled away from me along ancient sandy highways, and schools of fish darted past me as if it were rush hour. Jaiba, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen, I gasped, soaring above the bustling views. But how am I able to breathe underwater or talk to you? Is any of this real? Maybe, Jaiba said, gliding ahead of me. Maybe not. You'll just have to dive in further and find out. My legs kicked harder to catch up to the small cangrejo, but something started to look off. Just a few moments before, the city was aglow. Then, a stark color began to stand out. Blanco. Jaiba, where did their colors go? I asked. My voice sounded too loud. This part of the reef was ghostly and quiet. Goosebumps covered my body. Those coral have been bleached, Jaiba said. Our planet and oceans are heating up, hurting our home. Look, I said, pointing at something bright green wrapped around the ghostly coral skeleton. What's that in the distance? Is it alive? That's ghost gear. Nasty stuff that's been left behind, Jaiba explained. It looks like seaweed from afar, but it's actually a net. A flash of darkness and a whoosh from behind the fishing net startled us. Something big was hidden below. My heart beat wildly in my chest as I locked eyes with the most beautiful creature I'd ever seen. A giant fish with a sharp pointed snout and slender body was thrashing amid the plastic covering. My stomach dropped. It's stuck. We have to help, I exclaimed, watching the creature's blue body swing from side to side in panic. I dove down and started to tug at the net around its fins. Almost there, I huffed, pulling with all my might. Got it. The creature swam off in the blink of an eye. That was a mako shark, Jeba said. They're the fastest sharks in the world. I couldn't tear my eyes away from the shark's shadow, slowly disappearing. I reached out toward it as bubbles began to blur my vision, and I was pulled into a new world again. Jeba, what are we doing here? We can't just be in someone's room, I whispered. Don't worry, you're invisible. Nobody can see you except me, he replied matter-of-factly. So how many kinds of sharks are there? I asked. Over 500 different kinds, Jeba said. Great white sharks, whale sharks, tiger sharks, blue sharks, reef sharks, epaulettes. These creatures have existed before so many of us, before the dinosaurs even. Each one is special. Sharks sit at the top of the food chain, helping control and maintain the numbers of animals below them in the food web, Jeba continued. We need sharks to keep our oceans healthy. They're incredible, I breathed, eyes wide. I want to help them. Maybe you could become a shark scientist one day, said Jeba. Maybe, I whispered. I had never seen a shark scientist who looked like me before. Can you show me more? I asked. Jeba smiled mischievously and flicked his claw. Cannonball! Jeba yelled as he tucked his body into his shell and jumped into the clear water. I pinched my nose and jumped in after him. Jeba motioned at me to follow him. I wanted you to meet someone, my friend the nurse shark. I dove below the surface where the sun's warmth could still be felt to find the shy nurse shark. Hola, mi nombre es Melly, I said, trying not to stare at her unique pebbled pattern and long fins. The nurse shark stiffened and retreated back into the shadows of the coral. Bubbles, Jeba explained. Some sharks don't like them. How strange, I said. What else do they not like? Without a word, Jeba flicked his claw again. Where are we now? A university library, Jeba said excitedly, leading us through the maze of books. Come on, I know where we'll find the answers to what you're looking for. I picked up one book about sharks, then another. Can people really do this for a job? Study sharks and help protect them? I asked Jeba. He nodded and said, Let me show you someone who does just that. And my questions grew bigger than ever. Jeba transported us to a theater with cozy red chairs that faced a big, shiny stage. On stage was a woman with wild curly hair giving a speech. I looked around at the crowded theater and couldn't believe it. A real-life scientist. And she looked just like me. Female researchers, especially those of color, are like female sharks lurking in the darkness, the woman said. We're here, but no one is paying attention. We can't be what we can't see. I could hear her words echoing in my ears as Jeba snapped his claw. She's so cool. Who was she? I pleaded with Jeba. Couldn't we stay to hear the end of her speech? But that was just the beginning, said Jeba with pride. People call her the mother of sharks. Her superpower is teaching people to care for sharks around the world. We watched her ride in a helicopter over the Arctic Ocean on a blizzardy expedition. and wade the deep waters of Australia to drop underwater cameras and spy on sharks in faraway places. And even deep dive in a yellow submarine. Que chévere, I exclaimed as Jeba and I followed the crew of scientists down into the depths of the dark sea. As we reached the bottom, the mother of sharks smiled and shouted, "I see something! To the right!" A beautiful six-gill shark bumped into the submarine. We are trying to record the shark's natural behavior so we can learn more about how this animal acts around new objects, she explained to a crew of documentary filmmakers. I watched as another scientist pulled a small capsule out of a bag. Tagging sharks let scientists track them for a few months, said Jeba. The tag helps them gather important information to better protect them. This is the coolest thing ever, I exclaimed. It gets cooler, Jeba laughed from my shoulder. Instantly, he whisked us off to a boat that was surrounded by snow, tall mountains, and icebergs. Do you see anything yet? The mother of sharks asked. We might have something, another scientist yelled. There we go. That's what we're looking for, the mother of sharks called out to the rest of the crew. The largest fish in the Arctic, the Greenland shark. The researchers cheered as they quickly let the shark go with a tag attached to track her movements. I think they're my new favorite, I told Jeba loudly so he could hear me over the cheering scientists. Suddenly, the mother of sharks locked eyes with me. Give me a second, amigos, she said to the group, walking straight towards us. I thought you said no one could see me, I whispered nervously to Jeba. I can see you, she gently whispered back. The sun peeked out from behind the clouds, glinting off the necklace she pulled out from behind her scarf. It was my necklace! The one Abuela gave me! A giant smile spread across each of our faces, the same smile. I think you've got to get back to the beach, Melly, she finally said, as the sun slowly began to set on the horizon. That's right, Mommy, but there are so many things I want to ask you and Jeba. Good, Jeba said, pulling me away one last time. Keep questioning. But what happens now, Jeba? I asked as we returned to La Playeta del Condado. Follow your heart, Jeba reassured me. It has the ocean in it after all. There are always people who want to help sharks. You just have to find them. How will I know where to find you? I said, setting Jeba back down in the tide pool. I'm always here. Just look for the speckled shell. Jeba winked at me just before a wave crashed into the tidal pool. When the foam disappeared, so did that little critter. Han pasado 5 minutos, nos vamos, I heard my mother remind me. Had it only been 5 minutes? It felt like a lifetime. Voy, Mommy, I replied. I looked back at the endless ocean as waves crashed against the glow of the sunset, remembering everything that Jeba and the mother of sharks showed me in the world of adventures that lay ahead. Letter to you. Hola. I wanted to say a big gracias for reading Mother of Sharks. My childhood memories of exploring the ocean at La Playeta del Condado in San Juan, Puerto Rico, are my favorite ones. I can still picture the colorful marine life, hear the roar of the waves, and remember how little pieces of plastic littered the beach and the seafloor. My childhood friends were the sea creatures on the shorelines, and since then, the ocean has been a constant source of fascination for me. I love every creature that calls the ocean home, but I especially love sharks. While sharks seem scary to many people, an ocean without sharks is the scariest thing in the world to me. Sharks are important. A healthy ocean needs sharks because they help control and maintain the numbers of animals below them on the food chain, keeping marine life in balance. No matter where we live, the ocean influences all of us. It provides us with the air we breathe and the food we eat. It even influences our weather. Scientists are working really hard to understand and protect our oceans, but we can't do it alone. It's up to all of us and our communities to protect marine life too. From using less single-use plastic to joining local beach cleanup efforts to educating yourself with books, resources, or documentaries, we all have a part to play. It may feel like a drop in the bucket at first, but our collective action makes a difference. Growing up on La Playeta del Condado made me want to become a scientist. But often when I look around, I notice that there are no one in the science field that looked like me. That is slowly starting to change. I hope this book not only inspires you to help save our oceans, but also encourages you to pursue your dream and dare to dive deeper into the unknown. Saludos, Melissa. The author, Melissa Cristina Marquez, is a fiercely proud Hispanic marine biologist, wildlife educator, professional speaker, and presenter. She has given 2 TED Talks on sharks and female scientists, and her work has been highlighted in NPR, Allure, Disney Plus, BBC, National Geographic, Good Morning America, and more. In 2021, Melissa was featured on the Forbes 30 Under 30 science list and the InStyle 50 Women list. Melissa holds a BA, a Bachelor in Marine Ecology and Conservation from New College of Florida, and an MS, which is a Master's, in Marine Biology from Victoria University. Born in Puerto Rico and raised in New Mexico, Melissa aims to bring attention to the importance of diversity and inclusion with her writing. Devin L. Kurtz lives in San Diego, California with her dog, Kira, and her 33 houseplants. She's been painting in Photoshop since the age of 2 when her artist mom first offered her a tablet pen. This is her debut picture book as an illustrator. Visit her online at divinelkurtz.com. If you are interested in studying further, here is a list of vocabulary words from the text. That is in the first column called the glossary. The next column are resources you can research more information about sharks and marine biology, as well as some ideas for STEM projects. On the far right, we have translations. So if you are interested in learning some Spanish and English phrases, you can check those out at that column on the right. I hope you guys all enjoyed that book. Thank you guys for listening, and I hope you learned some cool information about sharks. If you guys like this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.